I keep hearing people say Mike Brown was getting ready to go to college. If Mike Brown was college-minded and all about doing something with his life, he had a funny way of showing it by robbing a liquor store.
I think what's happening. Propaganda.
I don't get how the black community expresses no outrage on the genocidal campaign of abortions that has killed all black children by the millions. They walk into abortion clinics and let white Democrat voting liberals kill their children. Blacks commit more violent crimes against each other more than any ethnic group in America. American blacks have shot other blacks as young as 12 years old for less than carrying a toy gun. I remember walking through the hood and a dude pulled a gun on me for petting his dog. I remember living in the hood when I was a little boy, and a dude picked me up by the throat just for walking past him. Not too long after that, he walked out in his front yard in the middle of the night and blew his brains out. But I guess some white person made him pull the trigger, right? But despite all these things that too many blacks are doing to each other with little or no provocation, they want to be upset about Tamir Rice. It's a big tragedy to them because he was so young. The preborn are young too. Isn't their death a tragedy? Oh, and it seems that killing people while they're unarmed is a big tragedy too. Well, I can assure you that the kid in the womb ain't packing. Why are they okay to murder? Oh, and I know, if you conservatives cared so much about these unborn black kids being born like you talk about, you take care of them. Excuse me, but if the black community cared about black folks as much as they boast, they take care of them themselves. Oh, I love my black people. I care so much about my black people. Black power. I'm down with the struggle. Are you gonna help me with the struggle and raise these kids? Not that struggle. You can just struggle your behind on down to the abortion clinic or something. It's so funny how so many talk about how much they love their dark-skinned sisters, their Nubian queens, and on the other side of their mouth call them bitches and hoes, who are left by these men to either go to the abortion clinic alone or to raise these children on their own. I don't want to hear about your so-called outrage about what's happening in the black community, you hypocrites. I don't want to hear about your outrage for Tamir. Tamir Rice would be alive if the people in his community would straighten up their act and act like they've got some sense instead of demanding that the cops change. They already have. They're not perfect, but they're way better than they used to be. People may not agree and point out how militarized the cops are now. They don't care that the police want to be protected because they want to be able to go home to see their families at the end of their shift. Because there's some really hot-headed people out there. So if you want the police to dial it back, how about we the people dial it back and stop acting like a bunch of spoiled brats throwing a hissy fit, screaming about how we know our rights instead of acting right? Wouldn't it be easier to just focus on bettering ourselves? It's 2014. People of every ethnicity have been done dirty. The black community has no excuse to be in the state that it's in. Oh, but nobody's had it rougher than black folks. Shut up. If we had it the roughest, then we should be the roughest. If we face the most resistance, then we should be the most developed in mind and body. Pretty much every other group is thriving, while the black community is still butt hurting over yesterday, angry and walking around with a big chip on their shoulder with this powder keg mentality, and then has the nerve to be upset when cops don't treat them with all the hospitality that they want. If black folks really want blacks to stop getting shot, change your behavior, because the actions of too many blacks will cause apprehension to be imposed on a 12-year-old boy who'll get blown away by a police officer because he didn't want to take any chances. Things like that get young black men killed by cops. White cops be like, black folks be out there killing each other. I know they'll definitely shoot me. I ain't taking no chances. And then the black community wants to say people like Mike Brown was a victim. You're right. He was. He was a victim of his own behavior. He glorified violence, drug use, and objectifying women. He tried to live the thug life he glorified in his music, and he got shot trying to be as hard as what he tried to rap about. Why don't y'all focus on changing that? They want to get mad about all the white cops. Well, then get your act together and join the force. Oh, but you can't do that because real black men don't become cops. That would be selling out. Stupid. Now, as far as Eric Garner goes, it's nauseating seeing people chanting, "I can't breathe." Eric Garner was an asthmatic who sold cigarettes and has been arrested for it before. He's also been arrested for assault. If cops are arresting you a bunch of times, it's most likely because of how you act. But if the cops are stopping you and you don't get all indignant about it, the outcome's gonna be different. And if the cops are stopping you repeatedly, stay polite. Because they'll eventually be like, oh, that's just Garner, man. He's cool, dude. He ain't done nothing. Despite his affliction, he sold a product that's not at all friendly to your pulmonary system. He really didn't care about the quality of your lungs and the pollution you're breathing with cigarettes. But people are out there chanting, I can't breathe. Now, if Eric Garner is saying, I can't breathe repeatedly, then that means he can breathe. You gotta be able to take a breath in order to say, I can't breathe. When people want to break free from the police, they'll say things like, you're hurting my arm or my neck or I can't breathe. But here's the deal. Shortness of breath or chest pains are a pretty high priority in the emergency room. You can go a little while without food or water, but none of us are going very long without air. So breathing is pretty freaking important. If you compromise a person's need to breathe, they will panic. They will go into survival mode. Even if that person is getting air, if that person feels like their air intake is being compromised, that person's gonna freak out. Don't expect them to be calm. When someone tells you that they can't breathe, you err on the side of caution and you change your grip. I taught martial arts for many years. I've worked as a bouncer, having to deal with removing people much bigger than I am in full-blown fights, and have had to use joint manipulation to control unruly patrons. It's dangerous because you may not know when to stop. I remember getting sucker punched on the job, and I reacted only on instinct. And my retaliation ended up with me having this dude to chokehold, and my partner had to mace me to let him go. My reaction was poor, but this cop wasn't sucker punched. And I have a hard time finding it excusable that this officer did not resort to adjusting his grip to apply leverage to another extremity to control Eric Garner. If you're gonna affect somebody's need to breathe, you better have a really good reason. Eric Garner didn't do anything to deserve to have his ability to breathe compromised. I think the cop in question was wrong. The cop didn't kill Eric Garner directly, but his actions pushed along the process. I'm Alfonso Rachel with Zone Nation, and I get messages from angry blacks saying, wait until the cops come pushing up on you. Don't look for us to help, because we ain't gonna be there for you. The ones saying this kind of crap ain't never been there for me anyway. You weren't there for Mike Brown either. If you wanted to be there for Mike Brown, you should have been there keeping him from acting like a hoodlum. But I guess you being there for Mike Brown is you robbing stores and then burning them. Yeah, like that did Mike a lot of good. Way to be there for somebody. Not that struggle.